fresh squeezed orange juice this morning from the orange juice capital of the world.
Which is where? California?
No, it's Florida. I mean,
No, it's not Florida. Florida does not produce hardly any of the orange crop anymore.
Well, that's a shame.
You didn't know that? You didn't know the greening effect? It's like killed all that it gets too cold.
Those frosts are unforgiving. Hey,
no, the greening effect. It's a disease. It's terrible.
Yeah. I will tell you this much, folks. Do us a favor. I'm going to drink me some orange juice and watch this show. Take a picture with your cell phone of the QR code. Brenden, we got us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And thank you so much for watching. Bob Stewart, Kurt Watson, Tim Yancy, a lot of people at the Touchdown Club last night. It was Bob Kessling, Tennessee Night, voice of the Vols was there. Gave one of the best speeches. He and Harold Grader were up on the podium. Man, the appetite and the love of college football it's just gets stronger. We got a great lineup today too. Jordan Davis Hill, 24/7 Sports on Georgia. Jacques Doucet checks in right after that from down in Baton Rouge. WAFB Channel 9 covers LSU like kudzu and cotton. He's everywhere. And then Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, and Rodney Orr, Tatter Insider. So let's go ahead, get started. Again, thanks everybody for taking time out of your day, watching us live or watching us later. Jordan, thank you as always. You come prepared like a trial lawyer in the Supreme Court. It's just great. The game Saturday in Knoxville, watched it with a lot of Tennessee fans. And of course, we had our friend Jeff Boone was up there with Mark Ham tailgating. And Jeff said, man, that atmosphere was off the charts. It's not unbelievable because it happens every time, but Georgia extends that streak to 9. What were your takeaways?
Georgia just found a way to win. I mean, it was one of those games. We talked about this on our post-game podcast. To me, that win for Georgia felt like so many games I watched of Alabama at like the height of the Nick Saban dynasty, where it's like, I mean, there's no way they can't win this game. Like they're out of opportunities. And, you know, it was interesting to me listening to Kirby Smart after the game. He said it on TV. He pretty much said the same thing when he talked to us, that, you know, Tennessee deserved to win that game. And I wrote about this in a column on Sunday. Like, yeah, I think you can totally make that argument. But at the same time, you know, Tennessee had to go win the game. They had the opportunity with that field goal. And, you know, not only the miss before that, but the false start right before they set it up. I mean, Tennessee made life hard on themselves, and Georgia took advantage. And, you know, they made winning plays when they had to. I mean, I still really am having a hard time processing that 28-yard touchdown throw that Gunnar Stockton had. I mean, right on the money, dropped it in a bucket to London Humphreys, and London deserves a lot of credit for catching that touchdown. But, I mean, Georgia on the road in Knoxville against the Tennessee team that, you know, they've beaten Alabama. They've beaten them, all of their big rivals, but they can't beat Georgia. And you know how badly they wanted to win that one.
Oh, yeah.
They were in prime position. And I did not see – if you would have told me before Saturday – Tennessee's going to have 41 points and 496 yards of offense, I would have said Tennessee won this game, and Tennessee might have won it by double digits. You know, Georgia got put in a shootout, and they made the plays they had to have to get out of Knoxville 3-0.
You know, Kevin Skarbinski yesterday, Scarbo Knows on this channel does his podcast, and he talked about the quarterbacks preseason. You know, Garrett Nussmeier, DJ Lagway, and Arch Manning, all the hype. Right now, they rank 13th, 14th, and 15th in the league. A guy that you talked so much about, and you were it was a harbinger of things to come when you talked about Gunner's toughness and grit. This guy's so undervalued and underrated as a passer. He put that pass there at the end. Nobody else catches that except his guy. Did you get a chance to talk to him in the locker room after the game?
Yeah, Gunner's not a guy that talks a whole lot. When we it was a couple sentences, but you could tell how much that meant to him. And I give a lot of credit to the coaching staff. You know, go back and watch the very first play from scrimmage for Georgia as a 45-yard completion to Colby Young. I mean, I think they gave Gunner an opportunity to go out there and show, you know, not so much like show fans or anything he could do this, but let's get Gunner confident. Let's let him air it out right away. And Gunner made a lot of good decisions. It wasn't a perfect game. I think at times he got a little happy feet in the pocket and feeling like he didn't have quite as much time as he did. But no, great game. I thought he used his legs effectively, and yeah, I mean, even before that touchdown pass, I think about early in the game, I think that's late in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee's up 21-7, and Georgia goes for it right around midfield on fourth down. He throws a bullet across the middle to Zach Branch. If they don't get that, guys, we might be sitting here today talking about a Tennessee blowout. I mean, he made plays throughout that game, took care of the ball. Really one of the only criticisms is the sack he took and when he fumbled and the defense bailed him out. But no, Gunner had a fantastic game. And, there were a lot of questions after the Austin Peay game. He did not look sharp.
Mm-hmm.
He struggled to throw the ball downfield. There's not quite as many questions about Gunner after what he did in Knoxville.
No, and we talk so much about the players practicing and doing strength training in the offseason. We do it on this show every week when you come on here. You were telling us about Gunner, about Zachariah Branch, about Noah Thomas, Nate Frazier, all the people that were, maybe not household names yet. The thing about Kirby is how he adjusted as that game went on. I started noticing Joey Aguilar one time threw into a zone, like a collapsing triple coverage. And I'm not an X's and O genius, but he's a fantastic. 15 years, he's the best defensive coordinator in the country. Are we through with the lockdown defenses? Only Georgia's been doing it. LSU's doing it now, but they don't have an offense. Where's the balance?
I don't know. And I think it's one of those things where Saturday, I think, is a great example where you just kind of have to let the game dictate what you do. And like you said, I think Georgia deserves a lot of credit for how they adjusted after the way Tennessee started. You started to see more three deep men, playing three safeties back there to try to cut off those explosive plays. And, it still didn't work 100%. I thought Georgia had taken this game over by, about midway through the third quarter. And then late in that third quarter, they hit Chris Brazzell again and score another explosive play. So it wasn't foolproof, but, I think it was a situation. To me, I think the Georgia defense is better than what we saw on Saturday. I think a lot of credit is due to Tennessee and the plays they made. And I think that is a Tennessee team that can probably be around 9-10 wins this year. I think that they have the ability to do that. I think the biggest thing is Joey Aguilar taking care of the football. 2 picks. One of them I don't think was really his fault. The receiver fell down and KJ Bolden made the pick. But the throw he had that Janelle Aguero picked off, he was staring at his receiver. I wrote about this yesterday. And credit to Janelle Aguero. He was the middle safety, in the middle of the field, and he saw it, and he just ran, took off to his right, made a play on the ball. I think the Georgia defense is better than what we saw on Saturday, and they made just enough stops. But that Tennessee offense, I think it's potent. I think a lot of opponents are going to see as much going forward.
Yeah, and Joey Aguilar, questions about what he did in 2 years at App State. Who won the trade? Nico goes to UCLA it looked like a family reunion size crowd. It wasn't that big at the Rose Bowl. And then you look at the checkerboard, orange and white. You think there's still any interest in college football? I don't think it's on its walking the green mile. Do you?
I know one thing. It's been between Nico Iamaleava and then Nico Harrison with the Mavericks. This was not a good year for Nikos in sports. Right. I can promise you that.
Yeah, and now Georgia's got a bye. You hate to have a bye after a game like that, but it's before you play Alabama, and that's been the riddle. Steve Spurrier against LSU was 11-1. Against Georgia it was 11-1. He hurt a lot of people's feelings. I guess we all know it's all cyclical. Tennessee's now lost 9 straight to Georgia, but Georgia's 1-9 in the last 10 to Alabama. Is this going to be the Saturday?
That's what everybody's waiting for. And that, as much as Kirby Smart has accomplished, that is the one thing that's hanging out there is that he struggles to beat Alabama. Now, to his credit, the one time he beat them, it did matter quite a bit. It was a national title game. But no, I think that this is kind of the opportunity. This is Georgia's best chance to beat Alabama probably over this entire run. Because one, Nick Saban's not there anymore, but 2, you get them at home. That was a raucous environment last year in Tuscaloosa. And credit to Alabama. Georgia did not play well in that first half, but that Alabama offense, Jalen Milroe was on the money in that first half of that game. So now this is a big opportunity. And you pointed it out, Rob. I mean, these things are cyclical. We talk about Tennessee, Georgia winning 9 in a row. Go back and look at the 90s. Tennessee dominated. I mean, the last time that Sanford Stadium that the fans rushed the field was 2000 when they beat Tennessee. And that was because it had been, like a decade and probably a little bit over that since they had beaten Tennessee. So, no, this is a golden opportunity. It won't be easy. I think this Alabama team, I think everybody kind of panicked from week one. I think that Florida State team's a lot better than they were a year ago. But Georgia's got to make the most of this bye week because this Alabama team very well can come into Athens and leave with a win.
Well, you go back.
Are they both on a bye? Is Bama on a bye before too?
Bama is on a bye. They are. They're both on a bye. That's
so
interesting.
That helps the odds quite a bit, in the sense of like teams coming off a bye.
Well, what did Dave Bartu said Friday? The statistics: if you come off a bye in September, you win 51% of the time. So, but both teams are on a bye. I need to ask the follow-up, Dave. What if both teams have a bye? So I guess that cancels out. But you look at this league and you look at Georgia. I picked Georgia to play Alabama in the SEC championship, and I took Georgia to win. It's because they got a team full of alpha males. Kirby won't allow you on campus if you don't play the full 60. But Alabama, you're right. It's like the stock market. Market's down 1,200 points. Oh my God, what'd you do? I talk to my clients because the market's going to open tomorrow morning at 8:30. So you got to be ready. What do you see happening as the season goes on? What does Georgia need to improve the most on, offense and defense?
Offense, I think they just got to settle the right side of this offensive line. It was kind of a merry-go-round on Saturday, and some of that's due to injury. I mean, Ernest Green, the right tackle, he tried to go. I think he probably played about 2 quarters, and then he subbed out. I think him having an entire bye week to get ready for Alabama, my expectation is he'll be back. Right guard, they had Dontrell Glover, Juan Gasson, who had been the starter. He played a little bit, but, he's still not quite 100%. And really, I think it's right tackle I'm more concerned about between the two positions. Michael Ooney played a little bit at right tackle on Saturday, and just he struggled. He could not hold up and gave up some pressures and some pretty important moments for Georgia. And shout out Bo Hughley, Langston Hughes alum. He came in the fourth quarter, and I thought he played great. And if you go watch the London Humphreys touchdown catch again, he's the one at right tackle, and he gives Gunnar Stockton the time he needs to make a play. And it was really cool seeing some of the post-game videos of the guys walking off the field. I think Bo Hughley was talking to Lawson Lucky, and Bo was emotional. I mean, this is a guy, this is his 3rd year in the program, and he's been waiting, and he got his opportunity. So my expectation, I think we'll see Ernest Green back at right tackle by the Alabama game, but I think Bo Hughley definitely showed he can play right tackle. If they need someone over Ernest, I think it needs to be Bo. And then defense, I mean, just cutting out explosive plays. And we saw issues with this with the secondary last year. And that's the thing about the next game. You give up those explosive plays, you got Ryan Williams coming to town. And Ryan Williams had a big game against Georgia last year in Tuscaloosa. So they've got to figure out how to play the ball down the field a little bit better. They had guys in position on a couple of those touchdown throws. And, Ellis Robinson runs into the receiver and falls down. Daniel Harris looks like he's in position to make the interception, doesn't quite get up high enough, and Chris Brazzell brings it in. So I think it's really that simple on defense. I mean, they were in position. They got to do a better job of playing the ball in the air and preventing those explosive plays.
What are you talking about on your podcast, and how can people follow you? Because you are a nonstop on social media with Georgia Intel.
Yeah, the podcast this week we'll record on Wednesday since it's the bye week. A lot of it will be Tennessee wrap-up, but we will have a chance to talk today to Kirby Smart, Micah Morris, the left guard, Chris Cole, one of the linebackers who has been fantastic through 3 games. So that'll be a lot of the discussion is what they had to share as they go through this bye week, and wrapping up Tennessee and doing a little bit of preview for next week. I think it might be a pretty big week around Athens. Yeah,
and the atmosphere will just be incredible. But the thing that Kirby just he doesn't lose much, and the game that they played was a lot like that Alabama-Tennessee game in 22, remember, that went down? And Georgia just finds excuses to win. It's incredible. Thank you so much. We'll do it again next week. as we get ready for the big one in Athens, Georgia and Alabama. Thanks, Jordan.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right. We got Jacques Doucet coming in, WAFB Channel 9 in just a moment. And here he is. I know we got a tight schedule. It is rush hour down there in Baton Rouge, meaning there's press conferences, there's stuff to cover. First off, thank you so much for taking time to share with us. Go Tigers.
Let me just say what it is this morning, Brenden. Yeah. So for whatever, well, I know what reason. Emmett Smith is coming to Channel 9 this morning because he's out on speaks out against opioids.
Yeah, he does.
And doing that. And so he's coming by the station this morning to do a little chat with us. So I'll talk to him certainly about that, but certainly there's some football stuff I want to talk to about with the NFL's all-time leading rusher. And I don't think he's ever going to be caught. Looking at the numbers here, Brenden, 18,355 yards. And the only guy who's currently playing right now is Derrick Henry, who's 18th on the list, and he's about 7,000 yards behind. So that might be a record.
Wow.
Seen for a long time.
Wow. He's in a fun interview. I've interviewed him twice over the years. It warms up a little bit, and then he get him going. He gets running. He loves him some college football though.
Yeah, Pat Dye Jr. is his agent. Worked with him, and I know he's from Escambia County, the Gators, not Pensacola. So that ought to be a great interview.
Yeah, well, he's always obviously for good reason. He's always talking about the Cowboys, but I don't hear him talking a whole lot about his college days. And I remember his college days very well. It's when I first started watching football. My first ever LSU game was in 1987. He was a freshman. I think he ran for 190 yards against LSU, and they lost at the end. But certainly, Galen Hall, the head coach.
Yeah.
Kerwin Bell had the mustache, played quarterback.
From Mayo, Florida, the throw-in Mayoan, tobacco country. That was awesome. That guy still gives me nightmares. Playing on one good leg in 1986.
I love those old quarterbacks, man. Kirby, Bernie Kosar. I was talking about old left foot the other day.
Well, all right, you got a big game, big week. You get the win over Florida. Let's talk about it. You've been putting out so much stuff about the offense and defense for LSU. Quentin Stein and Tanner Stein are listening, and Bud Ritchie. I want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, what's the fallout with that post-game press conference? What was that all about?
Well, LSU wins 20-10. One side of the ball is playing way up here, and the other side of the ball is playing way down here.
Yeah,
and it's ironic because in the previous years, LSU could score, especially in 2023 with the Heisman Trophy winner and 2 first-round draft picks at wide receiver. And now Garrett Nussmeier, as Coach Kelly admitted yesterday, apparently is dealing with a torso injury. So they only score 1 offensive touchdown in the game. Brian Kelly was going to get asked about that at some point. He got asked about it right off the bat, and I was on the front row. It was like being on the front row of a Metallica or a Pantera concert or something. I was getting blown back there for a second there. Yeah. What do you want from me? Okay, what do you want? You want me to beat Florida 70-0? Yeah, you're spoiled. Okay, that's what's up with you. You're spoiled. So it was quite a rant.
You got a second career, Jacques Doucet, stand up, man. That was, I never heard him imitated like that. That's brilliant.
Well, I'm speaking at a quarterback club tonight in Lutcher, Louisiana. I might open with that.
I would open with that. I'd just come out and just do a mock post-game presser as you walk out there.
I second that emotion.
And I'm going to plug Dwayne Jenkins, the Lutcher head coach, in instead of Brian Kelly. I'm saying, you expect him to beat St. Charles Catholic 70-0? You're spoiled. Okay.
You're spoiled.
You've had enough. This is ridiculous.
We won the game. LSU won the game. That's all that matters. It's a win.
I just got the stat sheet. We won 20-10.
I think on one hand, he's been paid $10 million a year, so he's supposed to be answering questions about that kind of stuff. Yeah. On the other hand, I get it. You won an SEC game, and as I was talking to Gordy Rush the other day, there's no longer any 12-0 Alabamas, and there's no longer any 3-9 Vanderbilts. Everyone's pretty solid across the board, and so anytime you win a game, it should mean something in the league. But that's 2 weeks in a row where he's gone into the post-game press conference and he's come in a little fired up, and then on Monday says I should have dialed that back a little bit. So maybe his cool down period needs to last a little longer. But LSU before the year, we looked at the schedule. We said, man, they could have 2 losses if they're not careful. And they won at Clemson and they beat Florida. Now, look, neither of those teams maybe are as good as we thought they were going to be at this point of the year. But LSU's got a game this weekend against Southeastern, the Lions from Hammond, America. They've got a great program for the FCS level, but let's be honest, this is probably going to be the easiest game of the year for LSU. And then after that, they go to Ole Miss, which is going to be a huge game, and then they have a bye week. So they're trying to get through these next 2 weeks and then get Garrett Nussmeier healthy during the bye because it's obviously affected the way he's throwing the football and the way he's moving around. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he had a guy wide open. I think it was a 35-yard throw, and it was badly underthrown into the inside. It got deflected and intercepted. So I'm not making excuses for the way he's played. He only has 3 touchdowns so far in the first 3 games of the season. Certainly, we thought the LSU offense would be a lot better than that. They still can't run the ball the way they would like to. The offensive line continues to be bad at rush blocking, run, and then pretty good at pass blocking. So that's where it's at right now with LSU, who's ranked number 3 in the country at the moment.
Yeah, I think Herbstreit's got him 1.
I saw they got 2 votes for number 1 in the AP. Well, I didn't notice that until yesterday. I was like, a couple people voted him number 1. So it's interesting.
Well, what I don't like. If there's a psychological aspect of this, it's like he walks into the post game and a little bit takes the air out of the big win. Not takes the air out, but like, I don't know. It doesn't make. It's like, don't get too excited. You didn't beat a really good Gator team, right? You did. Yeah. That you definitely should have won that game. I don't know. I just like the way LSU is just. It feels like they got a little of the luck on their side too this year. It's got a little.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Florida was begging to get blown out the whole game, right. And it's like you weren't interested in doing it. It's like the LSU defense. And look, I did this on social media real quick. I want to compliment DJ Lagway because, first of all, he had a real rough night. Okay, obviously threw 5 picks, but number 1, he went to the post-game press conference. I've seen a lot of people after a game like that duck out and, hey, I ain't talking. Now, some people are saying, it's in his contract. He's got to – I don't know about that. I don't know if post-game appearances are written into a contract. But regardless, he showed up and, wasn't angry, wasn't frustrated, very courteous, answered all the questions and whatnot. So I was very impressed with him, the way he handled the post-game press conference after a game like that. And I'll be rooting for that kid. I think you guys know him a lot better than me, but seems like a great kid. But
yeah,
really great kid, great family. Just all around what you want.
Yeah.
And made some impressive throws. I mean, obviously, 5 interceptions. Nobody can do that and win a game. But, LSU's defense, they got some veterans back there out of the portal and they baited them a couple times and whatnot. But, LSU's got a pick 6 for a touchdown. They got an interception that set up a field goal late in the first half. LSU's offense went 3 and out the first 3 times to start the game. And then finally, it looks like they're going to knock him out in the fourth quarter. Nussmeier hits Bauer Sharp, 65-yarder down the seam. What do? They fumble. They go 17 yards in reverse. And then Nussmeier kind of jogs out and throws one of these, roll right, throw back across the middle to the left interceptions. It's like, what are you doing? So it was very sloppy on the offensive side of the ball, but it was a win. But I don't know if you can play this way and, beat Ole Miss on the road, beat Vanderbilt on the road, Alabama on the road. So that, they got a gauntlet coming up after Southeastern.
Yeah, I mean, I think this may be the first year we do have a 9-3 SEC team make the playoffs. It is so wide open. You look at South Carolina, their offense was not trending well, and that's why I took Vandy. And Vandy, I didn't think they dominated them 31-7. LSU's offense struggling. You talk about a torso injury to Garrett Nussmeier. That's affecting how he's throwing right there. But what I don't get is the offensive line. Who is the offensive line coach at LSU?
Brad Davis, who played at Bel Air High School here in Baton Rouge. He was an offensive lineman on the Oklahoma team that won the national championship with Bob Stoops, 2000. Mm-hmm. He coached all across the country and nowhere America. I think he finally, his first big gig, or one of his first big gigs, he was coaching with Sam Pittman at Arkansas, and then came to LSU. He's a great recruiter, and he's a great guy, and certainly he wants to do well. But there have been some, hey, what the heck's going on? Why can't we push people off the ball? I mean, Louisiana Tech. That game, LSU's on the 5-yard line late in the game with their first stringers in the game, and you would be able to think, hey, in the fourth quarter, we're LSU and we should be able to punch it in. They couldn't. So I don't know what's going on there with their run blocking and all that. I mean, but certainly some LSU fans are grumbling about him and that. And then Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, is he in over his head? I asked Coach Kelly about Joe Sloan yesterday. He said he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. I mean, when you ask those kind of questions, you're kind of appeasing the fans because you see that they're all tearing him up on the social media platforms. So here, I'm going to ask, but I certainly don't expect Brian Kelly to say, yeah, this guy's not up for it, we're going to fire him. So, it's one of those deals. So, but they are 3-0. And
I mean, the bottom line is they're 3-0.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
So, like I said, at Ole Miss, come home, play South Carolina, who may not be that dangerous if Lenora Sellers is out. But then at Vanderbilt, come home, play Texas A&M, who just scored 41 on the road to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Bye week, I believe, at Alabama. Yep. Arkansas at home. Got to finish the year at Oklahoma right after Thanksgiving. So there's plenty of landmines to navigate.
Yeah. I mean, you can't look ahead at the, 10-day forecast is what it basically is now. Don't look out 10 days and you see that big storm coming out from the West Coast. It may fall apart before it gets to you. Maybe, But so you look at LSU and the running game, the offensive line can't blow people off the line of scrimmage. Here you are going into the fourth game. This is who you are. How do you fix that? There's talent back there at the running back position. Can you give us some names of guys maybe that they hadn't played yet that you think need to be?
Well, I think the room is a bit lacking. Caden Durham is a sophomore. He led the team in rushing last year. He's a track guy. He's fast. He broke that run late. Nice run. They did catch him. They tackled him there on the 51-yard run. And then after that, the guy who's getting reps, Jawan Johnson, he's kind of a Swiss Army knife. They played him all over the place from defense to offense. Caleb Jackson, I think he got abducted by a UFO. I haven't seen him. Where he's at, the 235-pounder. He hadn't played at all. I mean, really. And Harlan Berry is a true freshman, a smaller kid who's got some shake to him. But there is no Leonard Fournette, Darius Geis, Jeremy Hill, Kevin Falk. I don't think there's a generational back there at the moment. And, there's a kid named Trey Holly who's playing over at Southern who got himself into a bunch of legal problems. I guess he'd be helping this room. I mean, they do have talent, but there's nobody back there that's an All-American, I don't think, at this point. And that combined with your offensive line not opening up the holes the way they should, and now Nussmeier being compromised a bit in an era now where, you can't get away from Garrett Nussmeier. He's on Raising Cane's commercials. He's on Gordon McKernan commercials. He's on a lot of commercials, billboards and whatever. And it's kind of like the pro thing, right? And now when you're winning and everything's going great, all that stuff is great. And then when you're not doing as well, LSU hasn't lost a game. But when you're not playing as well, people nitpick for everything and say, if you spend more time practicing and not doing them commercials, when the commercial shoot takes maybe like an hour to do, you're in and out, you're done. But then it's almost like when those commercials play, they think they're in real time or something,
Yeah,
he
left the practice.
He's with Todd Graves at the drive-through every time they play that commercial. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You're 3-0. That's the bottom line, and it's hard to change who you are. But look around the conference. Maybe the best 1-2 punch at running back is Missouri with Roberts and Ahmad Hardy. Good grief. Went for 250. I don't care who you're playing. That's Louisiana. I mean, that's not the worst team in the country. All right. Before you go, what are you going to be talking about? What stories are being covered? What do LSU and SEC and college football fans need to know about that you know about?
Well, this week, LSU, like we said, they've got Southeastern at home. I'll be working on a nice feature that we're going to air next week before LSU plays Ole Miss. It'll be defense oriented. You know, the last time LSU went to Ole Miss in 2023, they scored 49 points and lost the game.
Yep.
And because their defense was atrociously bad, obviously they've got a different kind of unit going over this time. And so we'll document a big piece of that. Rohan Davey, LSU quarterback, great. He's supposed to come by tomorrow. We're going to chat about LSU's offense and Nussmeier and all that. We'll put that up on YouTube. Go to our WAP YouTube page. Certainly the chat we're doing this morning with Emmett Smith, we'll post that as well. High school football fans throughout South Louisiana. Sports on Friday night comes on at 10 p.m. Friday. We got 25 games on the air, I think, last week, highlights and scores. Wow. So we'll look to do that again this week. And Southern, the Jaguars are off. The Saints are in Seattle this weekend after an 0-2 start. So we'll have our high school football player of the week on Wednesday. And this is a few things we've got going on down here in South Louisiana.
Well, if an intern wants to learn the business, they need to come work for you. 25. That is fantastic. Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Bet. Always. Brenden, covered 25 games. I remember those high school Friday night football shows. In some markets, they go an hour. And high school football is so big. You look at a state like Florida, and before Yancy Porter joins us, I want to say something about – well, I'll do it real quick. You know, high school football in the state of Florida, Brenden, is so good. And then the track and field programs are so good. I can't imagine. You're in Ocala. You got your own TV there, but you're in the Orlando market too. How do they cover high school football in a state like Florida? That's got to be like, you know, herding cats. There's so much to cover.
I've done high school football in the state of Colorado when I covered it with other sports. They do it much like they do it everywhere. Is local news really takes that on.
Yeah.
I know places like Denver or whatever, like they'll get in the traffic helicopter and fly around to the different schools and report on it. And with the onset of live streaming and different platforms and need for content, we're seeing any high school team, I would say 50% of them probably have some sort of live stream of their own game now. So, you really got to turn to the internet and that kind of stuff to find it. But it's like anything else. There's apps, there's websites, there's people that cover it. And you got to look, I think, in the recruiting realm. I think recruiting in high school now you're sort of synonymous in the whole thing. Because I followed Lagway's last 2 years in high school because we knew he was coming to Florida. So watching him in high school was like ESPN was following him.
6A, 6A ball in Texas. Yeah. And I think too, you'll see these helicopters will do kind of a bank shot. They don't even touch the ground. Like you go to Atlanta, watch, WSB Channel 2, Channel 5, whatever. And there's so much to cover and they do a great job of it. Hey, here's another great one. Rebel Yell Hotline, Monday nights, 6 o'clock on Super Talk Mississippi and Sports 56 WHBQ. Yancy Porter covers the Rebels. Yancy, hey, man, that shootout Saturday night, Arkansas Ole Miss. Credit Ole Miss's defense for making the play, but Austin Simmons, kind of update us on him. Chambliss throws for over 350 yards, one of the best starts for a new guy ever at Ole Miss.
Yeah, it was, kind of typical Ole Miss Arkansas game. Last year was an outlier where Ole Miss hung 63 points on them and really kind of blew it out there in the late first quarter. But, these games between Ole Miss and Arkansas typically go down to the last play. They just do. Usually Arkansas's way, too. So,
especially in Oxford. They're crazy in Oxford.
Yeah, it's heartbreaker after heartbreaker for Ole Miss with Arkansas. So, it's but it outrages the question: who's going to be QB1 going forward? Right? Simmons, he definitely is injured right now. But Lane, said at the press conference that they got good health report on Simmons yesterday, and he expected him to be the starter Saturday. So, I think that was kind of the shocker that. From the press conference, because I think everybody expected after Trinidad's performance Saturday that he would be QB1 at least for next weekend. But I think Trinidad is just more. He's more of an RPO, true RPO style quarterback, where Simmons is really more of a pro style quarterback. So, it's really a better fit right now for Lane's offense with Trinidad, but we'll see.
All right. So Simmons' injury, they tried to play him for a play or two early. And
He
then,
played too. Yeah, Trinidad hit a helmet on his throwing hand and slashed his thumb up, and then they hot glued it on the sideline when Simmons came in for those two plays. And on one of the plays was RPO, and he ran it for about 4 or 5 yards and re-injured that ankle, and
yeah,
he was limping really badly getting back to the sidelines. But Lane said that he was ready to go and had a good report, and he'll be starting up. He anticipates he'll be the starter this weekend. So we all know Lane, though, with gamesmanship, so you never know with him.
you don't. I mean, that's right. All right. Tulane's coming to town. That's a good team. John Summerall, hell of a coach, was at Troy, now the Green Wave. You do not want to say, well, it doesn't matter who we play. You expect a full 60 Saturday against them, don't you?
Yeah, Summerall's a hell of a coach. He's an SEC coach. He'll be
Yes.
somewhere in the
Oh,
SEC.
he will be next year.
Yeah. Heavy speculation it'll be Kentucky because he played there and coached there for two different stints at Kentucky. And, but he'll be somewhere in the SEC. Summerall, the Georgia Tech and Vandy's coaches will be the hottest items as far as where Power Five teams or Power Four, you should say, in today's era, picking up coaches. All three of those have done hell of a jobs at their schools.
They really have. And you look at Ole Miss now. Let's talk about the defense. You had the shootout against Arkansas, and Taylon Green. He's going to stress. Bobby Petrino put so much pressure on you from the receiving, the running, then a quarterback who's definitely a dual threat. How good is this Ole Miss defense? And hey, they're undefeated. That's all that matters.
Yeah, they weren't very good Saturday, were they?
Nobody's was. Look around the SEC. Tell me, other than LSU,
I know.
You have no offense at LSU to speak of.
Watching Tennessee and Georgia game, and Tennessee's defense looked like basically a two-hand touch Pac-10 defense. Not Tennessee, Georgia's, excuse me, and Tennessee's as well. But it's historically how physical and scratch and claw type of defense that Kirby Smart has over there at Georgia, and then watching them just Tennessee going up and down the field on them was eye-popping. So sometimes that's just the flow of the game, right? You get in those type of shootouts, and look, I'll give Pete Golden credit. He made halftime adjustments, and they held them to one touchdown, 7 points at the second half. So they went to instead of a 3-man rush, they did four down line and put a quarterback spy on Green there, which really forced some punts and like I said, forced them to just 7 points in the second half when they literally could not stop them in the first half. So some adjustments were made there, but you look, Ole Miss. I kind of equate it right now to the 21 defense for Ole Miss, where they started all so poorly there, and then that was the Chase Campbell and some guys there that just entered that defense in 2021, and they became a really solid, really good defense by season's end. Were they elite? No. Is this defense going to be elite, top 10? No. Do I expect them that they could work themselves to a top 40-ish type defense in the country? Yes.
All right. So look around at the defenses. LSU's got looks like a really good defense,
Yeah.
but a very poor offense. If you considering Garrett Nussmeier and all, it's not that good. And you look at Texas, their defense is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Offense is I'm not saying abysmal, but they're not producing. Arch Manning had 10 straight incompletions. I don't know if it's too many people in his ear or what it is, but I think the most important thing is he just needs reps. He needs snaps. He needs starts. Everybody, put him on third base and thought he hit the triple. Let him work his way through. It's like that with any quarterback. I don't think Josh Heupel and Lane Kiffin those two right there might be the two best in the whole country at developing quarterbacks. I mean, Lane Kiffin, this guy Shambliss comes in there, and did they miss a beat?
No,
That's
no.
what I'm saying. That's kind of scary. That he's that much better as a quarterback coach, he and Josh Heupel, than most everybody else. Not everybody, but most everybody in the country. And
it was a hell of a pickup because he is a true RPO type quarterback, and that's the element. You were talking about Arch Manning. There I go, saying Eli. Arch Manning needed reps. That's kind of what Austin Simmons needs. I mean, people forget he skipped his junior and senior year of high school. He only played his sophomore year, and then he goes to Ole Miss, and he sits 2 years behind Dart. So, I mean, that's 4 years of this. And it's a shame he's hurt his ankle like this. He needs reps more than anybody. But the predicament is do you now with Chambliss, or do you take your lumps with Simmons for a much higher upside ceiling for the future? I mean, that's where Ole Miss is right now.
well, look around the league. First off, very few schools have a dominant offensive line. I don't know if anybody does. That's because of all the movement in the portal. NIL is not messing things up. It's the portal. Like Ellis Johnson said yesterday, you jump a kid's ass, he gets his feelings hurt, and he leaves you. We were all brought up. That meant the coach cared about me if he jumped my ass. Usually. I mean, I've jumped my kids a few times about stuff, but they know I care. Yancy, I look at Ole Miss right now, the expectations of the fan base, they've gone way up, haven't they?
Well, sure. It's a $23 million roster. So
Damn right.
it should be. It's a top 5, top 6 NIL funded roster this season. So, when you're putting in that kind of money and the fans have contributed that much money into the roster, there should be high expectations. And you've got an elite coaching staff. So Lane Kiffin and Pete Golding is a dynamic duo. So, are they playing to their expectations? I mean, are they playing to the level that this roster should be playing? No, they're not. Is there a lot of room to grow to get there? Yes, there is.
You talk about that dynamic duo, and you're right. The adjustments that Pete Golding makes during the game are so undervalued by most people other than you, because you see it. And I'm hoping Rodney Orr will join us momentarily from Tuscaloosa. But Yancy, the SEC this year, 1 through 16, compared to last year, top to bottom, and everywhere in between. Which league? I know we're only going into week 4. Is it better, more balanced, more parity?
More parity, more balance, much better at the bottom. I mean, you look at programs like Missouri, Vandy, Mississippi State, I think even Kentucky, teams that were teams historically not as good at the bottom of the SEC in football, they're pretty damn good. I mean, I don't even see a weak team in the SEC this year. Vandy could be the most underrated team in the SEC this year. I don't know how the pollsters only have them at number 20. That's a crime to me. There is no dominant team. You don't have Georgia and Alabama at the top like you normally do, where they're just better than everybody else, and you're trying to creep into that third spot. Last year was a lot of parity too, but there was not the bottom of the league was much worse than it is this year. This year's bottom, there is no bottom. And so we are seeing parity at its truest form. It's almost like the NFL, right? Besides, you do have a couple, Chicago and Carolina, programs like that in the NFL that historically don't do well. But it's with this NIL and portal, it's here to stay this way. I think it makes it more exciting.
The reason I think the NFL's problem is we're microwaving these quarterbacks and just throwing them in there with 12 or 15 games of college experience. That's why the NFL looks like it does. All right, let's bring in the man from Mobile, Corpus Christi, and now Tuscaloosa, Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider. It's only $48 a year. Nobody covers the Tide. There ain't been Tide coverage like this since Coach Bryant wore that houndstooth hat over his head. Rodney, how you doing?
Doing well, guys. How's it going today?
Good. We're talking some college football, some Ole Miss, and let's get the Alabama stuff right now. You got the win. That's a solid win over Wisconsin, and I'm sticking by my pick. I can't change it. Alabama plays Georgia for the SEC championship. I got Georgia winning, but Alabama, let's get a report card from the post-Florida State, the post-mortem autopsy to where they are today.
Well, I mean, I think we could go back a few weeks ago, unfortunately, to that game against Florida State.
Yeah.
And, what we said after that was you have a chance to take a baby step against ULM, which they did. Then you have another opportunity to take a good step against Wisconsin, which they did. And now they're in the bye week and you're headed for Georgia. And if you can somehow go to Athens, which, again, like we said then, was far-fetched. But if you can, and it's probably not as far-fetched now as you look at it, but still potentially it's going to be a really tough task. But if you can go to Athens and somehow pull off a win there, the narrative suddenly changes. I mean, it changes big time. But, again, it's a tough road ahead. If you've looked at Alabama's schedule, they come back from Georgia. They've got Vanderbilt. They got Missouri. They got Tennessee. They've got South Carolina. They've got Oklahoma. They've got LSU. They've got Auburn at Auburn. So they play 6 top 25 teams as they're ranked today. It's a tough road ahead, but it starts with Georgia, and that's where the focus is. And we're going to find out a lot about just where Alabama is.
Yeah, and both teams have a bye too. All right, I want to ask you before I go back to Yancy, Ty Simpson. You've been on him and chronicling his development and all. What is he bringing that Jalen Milroe? Well, I'm not going to get into comparing; they're all different. But he just is a kid that he's a coach's son, as they say down in LA. That's not nothing. And I think he's demanding everybody around him. He demands accountability like a coach on the field. He's going to go down, I think, as a very, very one of the favorite Alabama quarterbacks in a while. I think people are going to love this guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's the same thing we've said for a couple of years now about Ty. He's got all the tools. We knew he had the tools.
Yeah.
The question was, how was he going to respond when he gets in a game? And I think Ty's matured so much over the last couple of years. And I really think the weight that he had, I know it was tough on him. Listen, it was a challenge. He had opportunities to leave, and he considered that. But he stuck it out. And, I think the weight was something that really matured him. That played a big role in where he is right now, having to go through those tough times. And then you lose that first game that you start against Florida State, and Ty did not lose confidence. And what I mean by that is, earlier in his career, Ty was so emotional that I'm not sure he could have handled some things. But to be able to bounce back from that game against Florida State, and again, I understand the competition was ULM and Wisconsin. I'm not getting carried away, but he's 41 of 46. In those 2 games, and a couple of drops, or his numbers would be a lot bigger. He's got 7 touchdown passes in those 2 games. He's thrown for over 600 yards. So Ty Simpson, I think it's his will and determination right now that has kind of carried Alabama along with his arm. Really impressed with what he's done. And he's got a lot of weapons. He's got a lot of weapons now that Ryan Williams is back, especially with Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, and the emergence of Latsier Brooks. They got a lot of weapons, so going to be interesting to see what they can do.
All right, got to get an update from my friend Johnny Haygood from Eufaula, Barber County, Alabama. Yancy Pierre, how's he doing?
Yancy Pierre had a sack in this last game. He is again. It's going to be interesting to see how this defense grows. They've got a lot of individual talent. It's coaching them. It's developing them. It's putting them in a position to be successful and to be disciplined on the field, not get out of position, which we saw in the first couple of games, especially the Florida State game. They were running around like a Chinese fire drill. A little bit better against ULM, and they've gotten better. They were better against Wisconsin. And hopefully they continue to get better up front on the defensive line, which they seem to have. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, I know the defense put up some good numbers against Wisconsin. I think they gave up a total of 209 yards. But it's going to be a real challenge to see if they can deal with Georgia's physicality. And they, Gunnar Stockton, he's come a long way. You got to give him credit. Not only did he deliver some really outstanding passes, clutch throws against Tennessee in this last game, but he's going to give Alabama trouble because he can move around. And Alabama is not disciplined up front, haven't been disciplined in the pass rush lanes. Hopefully they'll get better at that, and they are getting better because he'll burn you on 3rd and 7. He can pull it down and go. And so hopefully Alabama's a little more disciplined up front defensively.
Yeah. Yancy Porter jumping here with us. Great conversation with two of the best, Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, and Rodney Orr of Tider Insider. Blessed to have him on our show.
Yeah, Alabama is just about consistency. We saw them play at a very high level last year and a very low level last year. And we're kind of seeing that this year. They played at a very low level against Florida State. And they played at a very high level against Wisconsin. So it's the ceiling is there for Bama. It's just playing that consistent week in, week out. And Georgia's going to be a big task. That Kirby is going to be all over them for their defense getting absolutely shredded against Tennessee. So they both have Georgia has a bye week as well as Bama.
Yes,
Is that
both
correct? Yeah. So, it's who knows how that game's going to go down, but it is a huge game for Alabama staff. Even if they don't win, if they play consistent on both sides of the ball, I think that will go a long ways moving forward.
And guys, I'll go back to you, Rodney. I think the panic of people is a lot like when the stock market goes down 2,000 points in a day. Oh, well, it's going to open tomorrow at 8:30. You better get over it, especially if you got a wife, children, and bills. I think Alabama's talent is number 2 in the roster on the blue chip index, right behind Georgia. So they're the pieces there. I want to ask you about wide receiver. Jeremy Bernard, Ryan Williams, Isaiah Horton, who's from around Murfreesboro. I think he went to Riverdale in Murfreesboro, or he's a hell of a player, came up from Miami.
Yep.
Oakland. Yeah, I went to Oakland. Yep. Yeah, that's up in Murfreesboro. Yeah, because our intern, Oakley McFerrin, knows him and said, Rob, this guy's going to be an impact player at Alabama. That's where the portal can help you, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Alabama took some guy to the portal, and frankly, at this point, I don't think many of them have kind of, you kind of say, okay, did you do a lot of good about it? I think there's a lot of those guys still have time to, whether it's this year or next year. So we'll see. But Isaiah Horton certainly has been one that has done an outstanding job. He's really good. I mean, he made a great catch on that throw from Ty Simpson, 13-yard strike. Ty put it up high, and Horton went over the DB, which is what you want from him. He's 6'3", 6'4", whatever it is. So, yeah, he's brought a different dimension. And that's something that Alabama's recruiting, are taller receivers. That's what DeBoer wants, guys who have height and speed, can stretch the field, go up over people. But, so he's made an impact.
All right, Yancy and Rodney, a couple of quick questions before we go. Yancy, what is a story at Ole Miss that you're covering, that you're aware of, that people need to know about, that they're not hearing from the Twitter sphere or whatever?
That
they need to be paying attention to.
I think getting Braylon Braxton in there, the transfer from Arkansas, is yet to play this year at safety. They got some personnel issues in the secondary, and getting him back into that starting lineup, getting him into the lineup, period, is big because a couple of those safeties or defensive backs are struggling right now, and they need to rectify that if they want to get that defense playing to the level it needs to play. And then obviously the big story is QB1. What's going to happen moving forward between Chambliss
All
and
right.
Simmons?
Same thing with you, Rodney Orr of Tighter Insider. What's going on in Alabama that we better be paying attention to?
Well, I think right now it's just this offense has a chance to be really, really dynamic. If Ty Simpson stays hot, the offensive line continues to give him protection. And I think as the offensive line continues to mesh, I think we're going to continue to see Michael Carroll at right tackle working in with the starter, Wilkin Formby, both those guys playing, which is good. I mean, but I think as that continues to develop and you get Jam Miller back here against Georgia, hopefully this running game can start kind of clicking a little bit. You start getting a lot of balance. And if you do, then all of a sudden you've got a chance to be extraordinarily dynamic on offense. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see how it develops.
And it was wild watching Caden Proctor moving around on the field like that at 300 and I don't know,
60
lot.
at least.
Yeah, it's more than I weigh. Twice what I weigh. I mean, and that's even if I ate at the Beacon 7 days a week, which is no longer there. I speak posthumously of the Beacon. So, all right, look, both of y'all, do you both feel, last thing, the college football, the fans are adjusting to all these changes, and I think also the free market's working its magic. I mean, because the crowds are just incredible at the games. Are either of y'all surprised at that?
No, I mean, COVID's done.
Yeah.
That's over. The expenses, I still think that the SEC needs to work on giving the visitors
God.
better seats. Don't stick them up in the corner of your nosebleed section of on the 5-yard line up in the nosebleeds. And that, I think that will really increase the visiting fans starting to go back to the games. That's the last piece of the puzzle they've got to get fixed, is getting the visiting fans going back to the games like they had traditionally for the last 100 years. And it's all, I think, about the tickets they're giving them. And then you got to get them, Ticketmaster to get a decent seat for $500. And they said, no, I'm going to sit at home and watch it on my 70-inch screen. So no, this is working. The NIL, there's parity. There is no more bottom anymore. Anybody can beat anybody on Saturday. I think the game is better than it's ever
Rodney,
been.
I think y'all are better than you've ever been. I mean, I love that comment. Give the visiting fans decent seats because it's reciprocal, don't you think, Rodney? You want them to. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up. Great stuff as always. Thank you more than you know for sharing your time with us. Look, get out, support all of our sponsors. We are so blessed to have Landers Ford, Memphis.com. They're open every day of the week except Sunday. They're one of the top Ford dealerships in America. It's because they treat people the way that you want to be treated. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Get the process started. And I was out at Hewlett and Dunn. I tried to stop by there on Mondays, take them lunch. They had boxes of Barber new clothes coming in. Ladies, they've got a new Ariat jacket that is just gorgeous. I mean, Audrey got one. They've got boots, great looking men's and women's boots, kids' boots, clothing like you have never seen. Hewlett and Dunn open every day of the week except Sunday. And how you fight is how you live. Just remember that. Get out there, box, 48 spots, punching bags, weights, 45-minute sessions. It is fantastic. I equate it to land swimming. It's that good of a workout. Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. And look, you want to sleep right? Lights Out Gummies, 25% off. Use coupon code Sidelines, and they will ship them out to you. They've got energy, they've got chill, and they've got lights out. They are legal in all 50 states. Dave Bartu, he is the man. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Every day, go out and find ways to help other people. We're the most blessed people in the greatest country in the history of the world. For executive producer Brenden Martin, I'm Rob Browne. Stay tuned to this channel. A lot of great stuff heading your way. Stop by Vanelli.